Whether you're storing photos, running a business, or even just sending an email, you're using the cloud. But have you ever stopped to think, how safe is all that stuff you've got floating around online? Well, today we're going to demystify cloud security. We're going to turn this really complex topic into something everyone can understand, and more importantly, act on. So let's figure out how to put a deadbolt on your digital front door. So let me just ask you this directly. When you upload a file or log into an app, do you ever just pause for a second and think, where is this really going? Who might be able to see it? It's a question, honestly, that we should all be asking ourselves. Okay, to really get a handle on this, let's try a simple analogy. I want you to forget all the technical stuff, servers, networks, all that, just for a second. Instead, just imagine the cloud is your new digital house, right? It's where you keep all your most valuable stuff, your photos, your private documents, your conversations, and, well, just like a real house, it needs to be protected. So let's start by figuring out what the security system for this digital house even is. I mean, what are we really talking about when we use that term, cloud security? Okay, so the technical definition, it sounds a little dense, right? It's the collection of technologies, policies, and procedures used to protect cloud-based systems. I mean, it's a mouthful. But what does that actually mean in the real world? And this is what cuts right through all that jargon. It's so much simpler to think about it this way. See, we're not talking about physical doors and windows. We're talking about the digital entry points to your data. It's all about setting up the right kinds of locks and alarms for your online world. And look, the stakes here are incredibly high. This isn't just some minor inconvenience we're talking about. It's about protecting your personal stuff, your passwords, your financial data. It's about stopping hackers in their tracks, making sure businesses can keep their doors open after an attack. And, fundamentally building the trust that makes this whole digital world even work in the first place.
Okay, so if the cloud is our house, then we really need to understand who might be trying to break in and how they do it. So let's take a look at the biggest threats to our digital homes.
All right, let's break these down. First up, a data breach. That's pretty straightforward. It's like a burglar getting inside and just stealing your valuables. Then you've got account hijacking. This is when someone steals your keys, your password. And honestly, for most of us, this is the single biggest threat, usually from some sneaky phishing email. DDoS attacks are a bit different. Think of that like a giant mob of people blocking your front door so you can't get in or out. And finally, there's data loss, which is basically the digital version of a fire or flood. Your stuff is just gone. Maybe from a system crash when there wasn't a good backup. All right, enough of the doom and gloom, right? We know the risks. Now let's talk about the solutions. What does the high-tech security system for our digital house actually look like? What can we do? Well, a really strong security plan has 4 main parts. Think of them as different layers of your home security. You've got data protection, which are the locks on the data itself. Then there's identity and access management. That's kind of like your system for checking IDs at the door. You've got network security, which is the fence around the whole property. And finally, application security. That's like doing regular maintenance to make sure your windows and doors are still solid. Let's dive into a couple of these a little closer. So first up is encryption. This is honestly one of the most powerful tools we have. Just imagine writing all your private files in a secret code, a code that only you and the people you trust have the key for. That way, even if a thief manages to steal the file, all they get is a bunch of unreadable gibberish. This is so important, so fundamental that providers like Google Cloud do it automatically. They encrypt your data both when it's just sitting there and when it's moving across the internet. Next up is something called Identity and Access Management, or IAM for short. You can think of this as the bouncer at the door of your digital house. It's not just about having a key, it's about proving you are who you say you are. You've totally seen this before. If you've ever used multi-factor authentication, where you type in your password and then you get a code on your phone, that's IAM in action. It's like needing both a key card and a fingerprint scan to get into a really secure room. Okay, so we have all these amazing security tools. But whose job is it to actually install and manage them? You might think, well, isn't that what the cloud provider is for? But the answer is actually a little more complicated than that. And this brings us to a really key idea. Security is a team sport. It's a partnership. Both you, the customer, and the big cloud companies like AWS or Google, you both have really critical roles to play. You can't just, hand over your data and expect them to do everything. Your involvement is crucial. And here's the perfect way to picture that partnership. It's called the shared responsibility model. Think of it like this. The cloud provider is responsible for the security of the cloud. They take care of the physical building, the data centers, the concrete, the core network. But you are responsible for security in the cloud. That means you're in charge of what happens inside your digital house. You manage the keys, your passwords, who gets access. You decide what data to lock up with encryption. And you make sure any apps you build on top are secure. Okay, so all of this brings us to the most important part of all. What can you actually do, starting right now, to make your digital house way more secure? Here it is. This is your security checklist. Number 1, and I can't stress this enough, this is by far the most important thing you can do. Use strong, unique passwords and turn on multi-factor authentication everywhere. Seriously. Then, make sure you encrypt your most sensitive data. Keep your software updated to patch any weak spots. Be really strict about who gets access to what. And finally, it's a good idea to keep an eye on activity logs and just do regular security checkups. And that first step, that's something you can literally do in the next 5 minutes. Turning on Google's two-step verification, or a similar feature on your other major accounts, is one of the single most effective things you can do to stop someone from hijacking your account. It really is like adding a big, strong deadbolt to your digital front door. It's simple, and it absolutely works. So if you remember just one thing from all of this, let it be this simple formula. Good cloud security isn't about buying some single magic product. It's a combination of two things: understanding that it's a shared responsibility, and then applying smart, consistent protection. And that brings us to our final thought. Now you know the layout of your digital house, and you know about the tools you have to protect it. So the only question left is, where are you going to start? So really think about it. What's the first lock you're going to go check on your digital house today?